Hi, this is Teresa. Today I've invited Paula, who is a member of Chartered Accountant Australia and New Zealand. Welcome, Paula. Can you share your experience at Deloitte?
Okay, so Deloitte, I was there some time ago. Basically, it was a wonderful experience because I got to go to a number of different companies,
Mm-hmm.
some quite large companies. So there was a great deal of variety, and I was able to move around, get to look at the systems at different companies, and learn a great deal about different ways of doing business. I also met, and this was what I enjoyed most, was meeting a range of different people. So there were a number of wonderful people I met, the clients of Deloitte's. Yeah, it was very enjoyable. There was a bit of travel. Um, we had teams of auditors, and we had fun together. So there was obviously a lot of serious work that we had to do. But as I say, there was a great deal of variety, travel, meeting different people, you know, a number of very different businesses that I was auditing. And just chatting to people, finding out why they had started the businesses that they had started. But as I say, there were also some very big business kind of institutions or companies that I was involved with auditing. So yeah, it was a great experience. Just I particularly enjoyed meeting a number of different people. I also my most the thing I enjoyed most was actually auditing an election. So we were involved in auditing an election, and obviously to try and make it as free and fair as possible in those times. Basically, it was just once again, a lot of travel, meeting up with different stakeholders, finding out what they expected. I enjoyed talking to people from a variety of different kinds of positions. I generally found the people who were considered fairly low in terms of their importance often had a great deal of very significant information, very helpful information. So I enjoyed just including and talking to everyone and actually benefiting from the knowledge, the wide range of information that I could obtain. Today they talk about stakeholder management, but that was something that I particularly enjoyed, was actually just talking to people from all walks of life, and a lot of people that sometimes are not considered. They often had a great deal of very important information, which was very useful to me, in setting up these voting stations, and just making sure that everything was taken care of. So yeah, so particularly that, I actually got a productivity award for working. I got so lost in the job, and particularly on the actual day of the election, I think we all worked kind of a 20-hour day, but it was so much fun that we didn't really mind doing so. So yeah.
That's very interesting. Thanks for sharing. And what was your motivations to become a member of Chartered Accountant Australia and New Zealand? Why not CPA?
Um, Yes, well, basically, when I started out, and to work at Deloitte, you actually had to be a chartered accountant. I actually just wanted to add, it was interesting because I actually got this just this morning, which is Acuity, which is the Chartered Accountant magazine, and it's always kind of got very interesting articles. And actually, at the moment, the articles are just very interesting because they're talking so much more um, uh, environmental issues, obviously. So companies needing to report on social issues and environmental issues, and obviously accountants are getting very involved in those areas as well. I'm particularly interested in reporting on social issues, and that's really um, what's got my interest at the moment. But it was interesting to read in this magazine, there was actually a quote from the chief executive of Deloitte. And this is how the focus has changed just in terms of social. He's saying, I have a strong belief in showing respect for everyone, no matter who they are or what they do. Um, and he says, I want to provide an environment where people can be who they are and let their light shine. So yeah, for me that was a very um, you know, good thing to read, that he's actually encouraging people to be authentic, to be who they are, and to bring their unique contribution. So not to just try and fit in. I think it's really important these days to really be authentic and you know, bring your unique gifts to the world. Um, because really, I think a lot of people just kind of try to fit in. They might achieve a great deal, but they don't feel truly fulfilled. So I think this kind of authenticity is really being encouraged, and to see it being encouraged by the chief executive of Deloitte is very encouraging, in fact. So yeah,
Mhm.
sorry, yeah. So that was just, as I say, just on the topic of Deloitte and chartered accountants.
Yeah, thanks for telling us. That is very inspiring, and I agree. Like we really need to develop our talents and our uniqueness when we're choosing the accounting membership and also our careers in the future. So
Yeah.
moving on to the next question, what is your accounting specializations and how do you find it?
Okay, so yeah, I guess I was auditing quite large businesses, and obviously I was in a specialized knowledge, but that led me obviously to developing certain interests in certain areas. Um, I guess, you know, the great thing about actually doing accounting is that obviously you can be an accountant for any type of business. So, you know, if you have an interest in jewelry, for example, you can then, and I was an accountant in a jewelry company. I was basically just making sure that the company had the cash flows on a daily basis. So the great thing is that, you know, it opens up so many doors for you, and particularly if you're actually wanting to open up your own business, to follow your passion and and to really be quite confident about the business side of things and making sure that you're managing the risks and you are, you know, able to understand all the financial implications, etc. So it gives you that advantage. So my specialization, I guess, developed into now, I guess, more governance. Obviously, way back, governance wasn't really much of a focus. It's only really become more of a focus since basically the year, the year 2000, large businesses such as Enron that went bankrupt, and obviously the whole system, you know, was yeah, you know, there was a great deal of loss of confidence. So governance really became a focus then, and I guess I've moved more into that area, and governance at the moment. Obviously, a lot of focus on environmental issues, the fact that climate change is now actually a risk for companies. It's a financial risk as well. So there's a, you know, obviously a great deal of pressure on companies to report on climate change risks. So yeah, there's so many different areas actually, but I'm particularly interested in probably the also the social areas. The Modern Slavery Act has that companies need to be reporting on their um, the risks in their operations and also in their suppliers regarding any kind of slavery that might be taking place. So that any reporting entity has to report on these issues, which means that they need to know more, they need to be aware of what's going on, and they need to actually be able to manage those risks. And once again, also reputation risk is another big social risk, which has become quite a focus, obviously as a result of social media. Um, Obviously, social media, has meant that people have to be quite careful about bad publicity. Um, so yeah, so I guess my interests are always evolving, but I obviously like to um, follow, different areas of interest as yeah.
Yeah, that sounds wonderful. Like you have developed many interests. As you said, accounting can be very broad, and you are particularly interested in social environmental accounting responsibility. That is really interesting to hear about that. And for me, as for accounting students, I have explored different area in accounting, like taxation, business finance, corporate accounting, and I'm still in the process of like finding which directions I want to specialize. But actually, there are much more behind than these subjects that what I'm studying now, like the issues that you just told me before. So I would also look into them and explore more
Mm.
about those topics. So yeah,
Yes, absolutely. So you'll actually go more into them in later subjects a bit later on. So
yeah,
in one of my subjects in particular. So that's yeah, that'll be good.
yeah. I'm looking forward to like learn more in accounting too. So now let me ask you the last questions. Considering the current time is very challenging in the economy, what advice will you give to graduate accounting students?
Um, Once again, I've jotted down a few ideas because yeah, it's an interesting question, and I think it's obviously has been quite challenging, particularly for people who've recently graduated and are looking for jobs.
Mhm.
Um, so I've certainly had given the advice of actually looking to start up some kind of business, I suppose, because at the moment it is a little bit more challenging to find jobs. So I guess at the moment, we are being isolated, um, and I guess it gives us the opportunity to really focus on our actual, on what we actually want. I've heard a lot of talk about people achieving things, but not being fulfilled. Okay, so they just follow and they do what's expected of them. They don't really develop a really strong sense of who they are. They go very much with the opinion of everyone else. And they end up not necessarily really being truly fulfilled because they are, not really in touch with their true essence. So I would say at the moment, particularly if you're in your own kind of space, you have more of an opportunity to become aware, self-aware, and get to know what your true strengths actually are. So I would say at the moment, in particular, in this kind of environment, to find your passion and really get in touch with what really kind of energizes you, because that's where you're going to do well. If you find something that's really interesting to you, that you find energizes you, that is your passion, then you're more likely to do well in that area. So once again, as I say, if you've got an accounting knowledge, you can really go into any type of business that you want. Maybe, form a partnership with someone else, some of your friends, and just remember that you're more powerful than you might think you are. Um, so, I mean, I just have someone who's recently started a charity and has actually just one person has able to change the lives of many people who are poverty stricken in in a in another country. So, people must realize that they are more powerful than they might have thought they are, and they certainly have, yeah, not to necessarily just wait around for someone to give you a job or to but basically look at your own resources, your inner resources, and just truly get in touch with your essence, what really energizes you. Because at the moment, we do need to, it has been quite challenging. So we really do need to look at things that that give us or make us feel enthusiastic, and then our energy is obviously going to increase. And there is so much out there. There's so much knowledge out there. On the internet, we just never had these resources. I've actually been so busy because there's just so much global reporting initiative website, for example. Um, there's so much research out there, and it's all available. There's so much that's actually available that we can get so easily. So as I say, if you know what you're really interested want, obviously, and then just get started, um, and you might surprise yourself. So yeah, I would say, and once again, the problems obviously give us opportunities to innovate and find solutions. So develop a strong sense of who you are, um, know what actually fulfills you, and bring your unique gifts to the world. That's what I would say.
Thank you for your advice and encouragement. I totally agree. So, even though the current time sounds very difficult, but as much as we keep trying and we keep doing things according to our passions, there will be new opportunities open outside in the futures. And
Yeah.
here comes to the end of the interviews. Do you have anything you want to add?
Well, thank you very much, Teresa. It's been very, very, very for setting this up. Um, yeah, I think I've said all I wanted to say. So yeah, thank you very much. Okay.
Um, yeah, I also want to thank you, Paula, again for your time and efforts today. Hope you have a good weekend.
Thank you. I'll see you next week.
Yeah, nice to meet
Okay.
you.
Yeah.